There.
Hi Cindy. Well, you said Facebook was boring these days, so I came up with an idea to make it a little less boring. I'm not going to teach you belly dance because I know you've already taken some classes, so I just thought I'd share with you one solution I found to the problem. What do I do with my hands when I'm dancing? So to start this off, we'll talk about the hand undulation right from the very beginning. The hand undulation is a good exercise for the hands if you're a sit at the computer kind of gal, and all the way up to the shoulders. This is how you break down the motion. The wrist is always going to lead the motion. So if you're starting your undulation from this position, your wrist would go down first, followed by the palm of the hand and the fingers. Coming up, the wrist would lead, followed by the three groups of knuckles and the fingertips. So smoothed out, you have a hand undulation. Getting both hands undulating. Okay, so what I've got isn't really a magic trick. It's more of just a drill that can be practiced and smoothed out into a pattern and then into a habit. So here's how I started. Position 1 at the hips. Get your hand undulating, thinking in your head, wrist, lead, followed by everything else. It's like that feeling you get when you put your hand out a moving car window, like you're pressing against air pressure or jello. So keep the hands undulating at the side and then raise them to position 2, where you will again get that hand undulation rolling. Draw it over your head to position 3, and again get them undulating. At this point, if you want to turn your wrists in, make the rest of it a little easier, get your hand undulation going. From there, one hand will come down to the hip, continue undulating. The other hand will come down, keeping the elbow kind of close to the body. Now you're back at the hips, up to shoulder height, across the front, and draw open to frame one hip. Back to the center, turning the body, pulling open to frame the other hip. Center, back to your original frame. So you want to approach this as a drill, as a constantly reminding your hands to continue moving. So going through it quickly, it's hips, pull up to the shoulders, pull overhead, turn the wrists, draw one at a time down, back to shoulder height, across, open to one hip, across, and open to the other hip. What you've just done is pretty much brought your hands to every possible belly dance position there is. If your hands are at the side and you're doing a hip accent, they can be undulating, keeping that life alive. And the way that I began this, the way that I found this as a system that worked for me, was looking at it as a drill, as just hitting the points, hitting point 1, 2, all the time, keeping the hands performing the undulation. Back to the shoulders, across, framing one hip, across, framing the other hip, and back to the start again. If you can get all the way through that drill 3 or 4 times, you will likely start feeling a lot of tension in the shoulders. I just remind you to keep reminding your shoulders to stay back down and relaxed. Imagine this little pocket in the shoulder is hollowed out and just soft. And remind the neck to stay nice and tall. If you find that when your hands are going overhead, your shoulders are leading, just stop and ask them to stay back down and relaxed as you promote the motion with the forearms and the hands. So that's the best I can do for your boredom today, Cindy, and anyone else who comes across this video. Thanks for watching. Oh, and as a footnote, this entire routine could be done either standing or sitting. So if you can't stand for long periods of time, that's not an excuse either, because a chair with no arms is just a perfect suited position for all of the hand movements. When you come down to frame one hip, you can still slightly turn the torso, even in a seated position. So have a great day. Thanks from Trudy, my cameraman Kevin, and Inner Goddess Belly Dance. Shimmy on.